Hello, once again, and we welcome you to your 40-day journey. And today is a very special day because we are starting our phase 3. And this phase 3 has to do with testing and trust. Now, the theme of this phase is going to be what happens when belief costs something. What happens when you believe in something, what it costs to you, okay? Now, the Sermon on the Mount that we're going to be centering our phase is going to be the peacemakers and those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Okay? Now, the phase is where faith is exposed, refined, and clarified. Not everyone who begins continues. Jesus makes this very clear here, and he's very honest with this. Not everyone who begins something continues or finishes it. Okay? Now, today is day 21, and we will be talking about the parable of the rich fool. This parable can be found in Luke chapter 12, verses 16 and 21. Okay? Now, this is what the Lord says. Jesus then gave them this illustration. A wealthy landowner had a farm that produced bumper crops. Every year, the harvest was so great it filled his barns to overflowing. He thought, what should I do now that every barn is full and I have nowhere else to store more? And he thought to himself, I'm going to build a bigger barn. I'm going to destroy the other ones. And I'm going to put everything that is in them, I'm going to put them in this big barn. Then I'm going to be able to consolidate all my riches and I'm going to retire and I'm going to live happily ever after. That's what he said. That's what he's thinking. And that is what a lot of people think nowadays. You know, I want to get as much money as I can. I'm going to get as much riches, as much properties as I can. And then I'm going to consolidate everything and I'm going to live off of it. I'm going to be living off of my fruits, of the fruit of my labor. But the Lord says this. God said to him, what a fool you are to trust in your riches and not in me. This very night, the messengers of death will demand to take your life. Then who will get all the wealth you have stored up for yourself? The same thing will happen to all of those who fill up their lives with everything but God. That is what the Lord's message for us today is. We cannot trust on our riches, our status, all the things, all the good works that we're doing. We cannot trust in any of that. We have to trust in Him. We have to believe in Him. And that is going to be all we need. Now, there is a couple of parallel scriptures that I found in the Old Testament. And the first one is Ecclesiastes 2:18 chapter 2, verses 18 to 23. And this is what it says. I came to hate all my hard work here on earth, for I must leave to others everything I have earned. And who can tell whether my successors will be wise or foolish? Yet they will control everything I have gained by my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningless! So I give up in despair, questioning the value of all my hard work in this world. Now, this is what is reinforcing this parable. You know, we need to think how we need to give to our successors. We need to plant in them culture, kingdom culture. We need to teach them how to be wise. We need to teach them that the Lord is the one that controls everything. Because if we teach them that, then they're going to be good successors. Otherwise, it's going to happen what is continuing to happen in the world. And you see it every day. You see people working all their lives, getting a whole bunch of riches, and then they die and they give it to their sons who are foolish and they destroy everything that their parents have built throughout the years. This is one of the things. Now, Proverbs says this. Proverbs 11:28. It says, keep trusting in your riches and down you'll go. But the lovers of God rise up like flowers in the spring. What a beautiful sight that is. I don't know if you've seen a spring where there is a whole bunch of flowers growing and blooming. I think that's one of the most beautiful times of the year to see the flowers spring up. Now, Deuteronomy 8:13-14 says this, and when your flocks and herds have become very large and your silver and gold have multiplied along with everything else, be careful. Do not become proud at that time and forget the Lord your God who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. Where is your Egypt? Where was it? Where was it that the Lord took you out of there and made you successful? He says, don't become proud. Don't become proud at that moment and forget about him. We cannot forget about who brought you out of Egypt, who took you in, who saved you, who made you prosperous. Okay? The thought for this parable is security often feels strongest right before it fails. So you have to be careful and think about that. Most people don't ask whether they are building something that will last. They just assume that it will. And we cannot assume, okay? We cannot assume because assumption is a terrible thing. And we need to always trust in the Lord. That is it. Now, the focal point for this parable is that Jesus is telling a story about a man that plans to succeed, the land that produces abundantly, the future that looks secure, but something is missing. And that is God is completely absent from his vision, from his thinking, okay? Now, the man plans carefully, just without God. And that is what makes him a fool, to plan without God. Okay, the parable exposes dangerous illusion that success can quickly replace dependence. When we are successful, we're not dependent on anything anymore other than our riches, our security. And we need to be dependent on the Lord, not our riches. Okay? Now, what is the posture that your heart is supposed to have on this parable? And that is the spirit on the poor in spirit. Okay? Being poor in spirit is hardest when life is going well. Okay? The rich fool does not reject that God openly. He simply stops needing him. And we notice this in areas where people have mansions and riches, even in the poor areas. You know, people don't trust in God, don't depend on God. And our job is to continue giving to the people that don't know about him. Giving what? Giving more money? They don't need money. They don't need status. They just need this type of messages. They need the love of God. And who better than us to do that? And we need to try to do that at all times. Okay? So the test that the Lord is giving us, or the invitation that he is giving us today, is that this isn't about rejecting the provision that he's giving you. It's about examining where you trust, or where you're putting your trust. You know, are you putting the trust in your job? Are you putting your trust in your provision? Where are you putting your trust? Because whatever you trust most will quietly rule you. Okay, whatever you put in your trust in, that's what's quietly ruling you. And you cannot allow that. Okay, now the reflection for today. We have 4 questions for you. And we hope, our prayer is that you take time to revise these questions. And the first one is, where do I currently place my sense of security? How does comfort affect my dependence of God? Do my plans include God or assume him? what will it look like to hold success with humility? And with that, we'll leave you to it. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow.